So, good morning, everybody, and good morning. It's nice to see you. It's nice that there are some of you here already, and I'm sure that there'll be more coming. We have strong competition today with the London Marathon, just up the road, with the sun shining and with various courses outside of London. But I think it's such an important topic that we have today that, it's close to many people's heart, this whole idea that we need to look after the environment. It's become so urgent now, and we are seeing the urgency of it. It is like a groundswell that has actually come to the surface, and we can't ignore it anymore. We either get swept away by a wave of plastic, or we get swept, we have a nice swim in a blue sea. We don't want to get swept away by pollution, by all these sort of products that have been produced. Maybe in the past we didn't know the consequences, but now we do know the consequences. So I'm very happy that we are now holding this Earth Day. This is our first Earth Day here in London, and I think it will probably continue, unless, of course, solutions are found by next year. Maybe we don't need to have another Earth Day. And I want to say also, thank you. I don't know if any of the speakers are here yet. I don't think they have arrived. Yes, thank you, David. Thank you. You're such a good, kind friend of the center. I really appreciate all your support and help. And many other people who have helped setting up the center, helped volunteering. You really are a big part of the center, and appreciate so much what you're doing, all of you. So I wanted to start by saying thank you, but I think, Kitty, you will have to thank all the speakers one by one. So the fact that we have this Earth Day, I think it is, for one thing, is wonderful. Whether it will be packed with people or not, it's a wonderful beginning. And, of course, it is not completely the beginning for us and for Rokpa Trust and our organization, because if you look at what has been done by Samye Ling and Holy Island, Lama Yeshe Rinpoche in the past, they talked about this decades and decades ago. Not only did they talk about it, but they did it. They acted it out. And that's what it's about, actually. We know about certain things, but we have to apply the principles. And Lama Yeshe has been applying environmental principles to his best of ability in Samye Ling, and to the utmost on Holy Isle, creating sanctuaries for animals, marine sanctuaries, fighting that there'll be no fish farms in the area, planting reed beds, planting organic vegetables, and using all organic materials. So we are trying that also here in London. Of course, it's a different story living in London and living on an island in Scotland. But what I want to say is that this idea is nothing new within our organization. Just maybe we have been a bit slow down here in London. That's all it is. We've been busy with other things. But it has been happening, and it should continue to grow and continue to grow. And we become more and more conscious of the consequences of our actions. And we become more and more conscious of the fact that we as consumers, we as human beings, we have to take responsibility. This is very much part of the Buddha's teachings, isn't it? I think most of you here are Buddhists. We know that the Buddha taught ethics, right? The Buddha talked about ethics. In fact, his key message was ethics and ahimsa. Living according to the principles of ahimsa. The beautiful word ahimsa, meaning non-harming. He totally lived and practiced and spoke about non-harming. And he talked about the ethics of constraint, the ethics of restraint, and the ethics of virtue, and the ethics of altruism and compassion. That was his message, really. Now, of course, that's putting it in a very, very simple way. His message was much, much more than that. His message was about freeing ourselves from suffering, about finding true happiness, about showing how if we are greedily chasing external things, constantly consuming, constantly buying, constantly exchanging one thing for a new thing and throwing the previous thing away, then we won't find happiness that way. That is not the path to happiness. That's what the Buddha said. The Buddha lived very simply, right? His robes were actually what we are doing now. People are creating fashions from throwaway clothes. The Buddha did that, right? He was he was very cool. He was very very ahead of his time. And in fact, what is so amazing about the Buddha's teachings is that they are ancient. They are from 2,000 years ago. You could think, well, they must be out of date by now. They must be really, how can they apply to the 21st century? The Buddha lived in a completely different culture, in a completely different time, in a completely different era. How can his teachings be valid and relevant today? But they are, at the same time as they are ancient, they are constantly fresh and they're constantly relevant because they deal with our mind. They deal with the present moment. They deal with how we live here and now. They deal with our choices. So they never get out of date. Buddha's teachings doesn't have a sell-by date. Buddha's teachings are always relevant because the mind, and this relates to environment. This relates to environment, our mind and our choices. Are we going to live and make choices through greed and through consumerism? Or are we going to make choices where we take responsibility and we look at the consequences of our actions? So from that point of view, this is what the Buddha taught. Act in a way, act according to ahimsa, act according to non-harming ways. Live a simple life. Live a simple life where you need very little. That is the way of the monk, right? You have few desires, few needs. At least you try that. It doesn't mean that all monks and nuns, are perfect environmentalists or perfect simple beings, but we try to some extent. That is the message of the monastic life. Have few needs, few desires. Our problem now is that we have so many desires and we're constantly trying to fulfill those desires. We're constantly shopping and being told that we need this, we need that, we must have that. And we are looking externally for that satisfaction that the Buddha then said, you won't find it externally. We won't find it through consumerism. This is like drinking salty water. And in the process of that, we create a lot of harm. So it is not living according to the way of ahimsa. Because as we know now, the oceans are full of plastic. The fish are eating the plastic. They found a whale that died because it had how many kilos of plastic in its stomach? We know all these things now. And so, like the Dalai Lama said, in the past, maybe there was a sort of excuse. Maybe it could be excused that in the past nothing was done and that we continued our ways. But now that we know, we do not have an excuse. We cannot come up with a good excuse to why we should continue using so many plastic bags, why we should continue shopping indiscriminately when we know where things come from, when we know who produced those products, and when we know the effects that they have on the environment, on the animals, and on ourselves, us as human beings and the animals and the whole natural environment. So we've run out of excuses. This is thanks to technology, thanks to the 21st century we've come to this point. It's both good and bad. 21st century has brought us all this excessive production and availability, but it has also brought us the tools to know about it and to find out. So the Buddha talked about ethics, and in a sense what we are trying to do, all of us, is finding a way that we can all live together in harmony on this planet. And it's becoming harder and harder because there's more and more humans, animals have nowhere to go, and then on top of that all these things that we produce. But basically that's what we're trying to do. We must find solutions to how we can live together in harmony, in peace, never mind what our culture is, what our background is, what our language is, and what our religion is. And so His Holiness Dalai Lama has talked a lot about ethics. The Buddha taught about ethics. It is all from the Buddha's teachings. But His Holiness Dalai Lama has brought it out into the Western world in his English language, and it's very much applicable today. And he says we can look at ethics in the way that we can see that for some people it's ethics, or ethics is a form of spirituality. It's a way of life. It's moral choices. It's knowing what is good and what is bad. It is applying these choices in our life, but it is not necessarily based on religion, based on beliefs. It is based on our own sanity, or our own potential for kindness, is what he says, our own inner potential. So that's one type of spirituality. The other type of spirituality is a more religious form, where we try to apply ethics along with our religious beliefs and our beliefs in birth and death and what happens after death, etc., and all of the beliefs of the religion that we follow. So he puts them as these two different types of ethics. Because, of course, there are many people who are not religious, who would not consider themselves as following any religious path. So what the Dalai Lama is saying is that we need ethics, like a moral compass that everyone can agree on, that everyone can apply to, never mind what their background, their religious beliefs are, never mind where they come from, what their language is, what their education is. We need some common ethical goals and a common moral compass. And he says we need that to survive, really. We need that to live together, we need that to live in harmony together, but we even need that to survive. And so he's comparing that, he's comparing ethics. So when I looked up ethics on Google, so what is the definition of ethics? It says ethics is a moral choices, making moral choices according to what is good and bad, what is harmful and what is not harmful. So really, it is a moral compass. And His Holiness is saying, we need this to survive. We need this moral compass. And he compares these two different types of approach, religious or non-religious. So the religious will also apply ethics, but based on the religion. He says it's like water and tea. Now we prefer tea, right? We do drink water, but we don't drink only water. We like to have our tea, we like to have chai, we like to have sweet chai, we like to have water that's filled with all sorts of nice things. But he says without water we will not survive. We do need water. We don't really need tea. We don't really need chai. We don't really need all these different choices of tea that we have. But we do need water to survive. Without that, we're gone. Very quickly even. So he's using that example saying, without ethics, if we don't have a moral compass, We're going to destroy ourselves and others. We're going to destroy the planet. We're already destroying the many animal species going extinct because of our greed. We humans need everything. It's all for us. It's all here for our sake and our greed to fulfill ourselves. That's how we tend to see it. Rainforests, water, ocean, we take it all, take it all, take it all. And in the process, we are destroying all the animal species. They have less and less space. So without ethics, eventually something is going to break down. Eventually this balance is going to go more and more tilted. Just like without water, how can we manage without water? So we need to have this spiritual. We need to have the spiritual compass, the ethics of ahimsa. We need to have a clear conscience of what is good and what is bad, what is right and what is wrong, what is harmful and what is beneficial. That's ethics. And we need to put them into action, not just thinking about it, not just being a philosopher. We need to actually do something about it. And that's what you see with Lama Yeshe, what he has done so much already. But so, we also need to some extent the religion. Like I said, we like water. Yes, water is nice, especially nice on a hot, sunny day. But in the winter, just water. It's a little bit cold. Every day, just water. Every day. The religion is like the sugar, the milk, the spice, the tea that we add to the water. And not only does it make it taste nicer, but it gives us nourishment as well. So it has qualities and value that we're adding to that water when we drink it. And he says we can have these two approaches. And of course there could be a third approach, is that we have just tea. We have just tea but no water. What does that do? If we have just dry religious belief without ethics, that's like tea without water, it will bring no benefits whatsoever. I don't know, I've never tried eating dry tea leaves, but I think it would be pretty bad for my stomach. And maybe that's what you could say, this is what happens when you have, it could bring religious fundamentalism. That is tea without water. That is religion without ethics. What is religion without ethics? Who would ever want religion without ethics? Why would you want religion without ethics? We need ethics. We need to know what is right and what is wrong. We need to apply ourselves in those areas. And so, of course, here we are talking about the environment, but it applies to our mind, and because when we get lost without ethics, it's because of our mind. It's because of greed, it's because of aversion and attachment, all of the negative emotions that are also taught about in Buddhism. So we need to tame our mind, we need to tame our selfish desires, and we need to think more about others. It's this ethics of altruism, ethics of compassion. And here again, His Holiness, the Dalai Lama, is talking about there are two pillars in ethics, two principles in ethics. And one is that we need to recognize our shared humanity. That it's not just about me. It's about me and everybody else. It's about all of us. He says we should talk about us humans. We shouldn't just talk about us Danish, us British, us Europeans, us whatever. We should talk about us humans, but even Buddhism goes further, says all sentient beings. We should talk about all sentient beings. That includes animals, all beings with a mind. So that is what binds us together. We share this planet, we share this era, we share this century, and we need to recognize that we all want to be happy. Animals want to be happy, humans want to be happy. Doesn't matter where you live, which country, which climate, which religion. Our goal is the same. We want to be happy. We all know nobody wants to suffer. But people go about it in this very upside down way and thinking that if I can just get happiness for me and my close ones at the expense of all these other people, then that's okay. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. We have to look at the bigger picture. So he says, recognizing our shared humanity must be the pillar that holds up our ethical outlook. So we cannot only just buy our things and ignore where they were produced, ignore how they were produced, ignore what chemicals were involved when they were produced, ignore what conditions those people lived under when they produced our jeans, your jeans, your t-shirts, my robes. We have to think about these things because we are all one big family, actually. So he says that's one of the principles or the pillars that must or that hold up ethics, and the other pillar is the interdependence. And it's part of that is that it's sort of similar, interdependence, that we see, and again now we know more than ever before how interdependent and how reliant we are on others. But it's also what the Buddha taught. He said, don't develop pride, because you have nothing to be proud of. None of us have anything to be proud of, because everything we know, everything we have learned, everything we use, all of our qualities, they came from someone else, from others. We had to rely on others for all these things. There's nothing in our life that did not depend on others from the time we were born until now. So there's nothing to be so proud or arrogant about. How can we do anything alone? Like if we look in terms of Samye Dzong London, this is a massive group effort that has happened over the years. Now we have our 20th anniversary in July. Over these 20 years, if we think of how many people have been involved in creating this sanctuary in the heart of London, we'll find that that is a lot of people. But so interdependence is the second pillar and principle of ethics, is that we need to recognize it's like cause and effect. Whatever we do has an effect. Whatever all of us do, say, even what we think, because it starts with our thoughts, this will reverberate out. And of course, now that we're talking about the environment, this is especially focusing on the environment, we need to look at consumerism and think, whatever I buy, whatever I have here, do I really need more? Do I really need another one? Do I really need another watch? Do I really need another car? Do I really need another phone? Do I need more and more things? We have to think in those terms and apply these principles of ethics and recognize that whatever we do will have consequences. Our choices have consequences. So that's the idea of, that's what the Buddha taught on ethics. The Buddha taught about ethics of restraint. So restraint meaning don't just go all out. If you have a lot of money, don't just go all out, spend it blindly. Think, how will I make the most benefit by using this? Would this be harmful or would this be beneficial? Try to think of it. Now, we are not perfect. None of us are perfect. We cannot expect to suddenly be perfect, wise individuals who know every consequence of what we are doing, but that is also why, in fact, it's taught that we need to develop discernment. We need to develop mindfulness, discernment, wise discernment in our choices. Is part of ethics as well. So we need to make intelligent choices and bring awareness, bring this shared humanity, interdependence into all the choices we make. And sometimes we may not be able to live 100% environmentally friendly. It's almost impossible, isn't it? I mean, we cannot, also when we look in terms of karma, we are continuously creating karma. But we can try our very best to have good motivation in what we are doing. We can try our very best to continue to train our mind and to continue to educate ourselves about the choices. So, choices about cars, choices about bicycles, choices about walking, transport, choices about meat, choices about, now we are completely vegetarian here, but whether you can, like you know, many of you, that His Holiness recommended that if people cannot go completely vegetarian, at least sometimes have meat-free days. That could be on your commitment board outside. I'm going to have a meat-free Tuesday, or a meat-free week a month, or a meat-free month a year, or I'm just going to go meat-free for my own sake, for the environment's sake, for the animal's sake. All these things is what we can do. So the commitment board out there is for you to use, because when you make a commitment, it is something that helps and strengthens your resolve. We need to have resolve in our choices. So time is up, and Lama Yeshe Rinpoche. So I think if you are aware of the program, I think maybe Kitty can tell you the program. There will be a panel discussion at the end where you can ask lots of questions. But I was up in Samye Ling just at the end of last month, and I asked Lama Yeshe Rinpoche to send a message especially for today. And he very happily did that. So we'll play that. It was a little bit shaky at the beginning and end, and Anilamo and I were both sitting there with our cameras, and with a bit of effort we got something out of it. And then also we discovered that in a talk he gave in May last year that was just filmed, a private to Master Hightower's filming group upstairs, he talked for half an hour, and in that he had about 5 minutes where he talked about the environment as well, because it's very close to his heart, working for the environment. He's done so much for the environment already. When you look at Holy Island, you should all try and go to visit Holy Island one day. So let's watch those, and thank you for coming. And then I think Satish Kumar is meant to arrive fairly soon. Thank you.
To be invited to say a few things about Earth Day, which is coming very soon. And also London is participating and fully engaging in this project. And I am so proud that every organization in Kagyu Samye Dzong London, we are fully engaging on Earth Day. And Mother Earth in Buddhism is called bigger mother than our own physical form mother, because Mother Earth is one who provides life form to all beings. So therefore we need to learn to treat the Mother Earth respectfully, and we should do everything we can individually to take responsibility of remembering not to spoil the earth by throwing garbage all over the place. We should be responsible for how we save the river, the river which water all sentient beings are dependent on. So we needed to take good care of water so that it will be more of drinkable water, and we should not throw all this plastic garbages, everything into water in the river, because in the ocean it's killing many animals, and even on the land, many part, even cows are eating plastic and they get killed. So mankind should maybe learn to do without all this plastic bottles and bags, which is causing so much harm. And also, as Buddhist point of view, a good environment is our mind. We must have really positive and wholesome, good and compassionate mind, so that whatever we say, do, act becomes more of beneficial than harmful. So in a way called selflessness is necessary part of this Earth Day achievement. So physically we trying to plant trees on our land. We should look after how much wastage goes on food. We should be very aware of not wasting any food and resources, and we should always engage with our own mind to wanting less and needing less, and be more wholesome in the mind. So I think this can contribute towards the improvement of our environment and Mother Earth. As His Holiness said, the lower you are, better it is. That's like ocean can never be on the mountain. Ocean is there because it is occupying the lower part of the planet. So if you want to have a lot of wisdom, we should occupy the humble part of our everyday existing, not become arrogant and not always looking down to other people. So it's like a pure lifestyle. Caring environment, caring other humanity, making sure like our environment, which sort of gives us a better life. If we pollute the environment, then we don't become healthy human being. But what I call inner environmental is helping our mind to be pure and good. Outer environment means learning to engage with all nationalities, all color, all race, all gender equally, and of course truly taking care of planet Earth, planting trees, not over polluting, and like we should like especially our Asians, we should really take extremist care so the snow mountains of Himalaya will have snow on ice, so that 2 or 6 billion population will have proper and clean water. And if we let the ice and the snow to melt because we develop so fast, and then there won't be water, so that will be disaster to everybody. So I request everybody who's listening, saying protecting Himalaya mountains, it's a river, it's a ocean, we call lakes, is for the benefit of many billions of people's life hanging on it. Because if there's no fresh water, then so many mouths, then where do you get water? Our river is already drying out, it's already polluted. So we are not too late. I request we should all be so careful not damage the ecosystem of the Himalaya region because it's the highest mountain in the world, and that is where all the Asians, every part of Asian, their drinking water comes from there. And the remaining, as I say, wherever we are, whatever we do, we should have no excuse to become we call very selfish human beings. According to Buddhism, we should be selfless Buddhists so that we can care more about others. When we take care of others, they take care of you. When you become so selfish, you think nothing but yourself, then you become everybody's enemy number one. So Buddha's teaching is all wise. Look after everybody, they will always look after you. And you become selfish, then why should anybody can help you? You don't care others. So learning to be kind and caring to other human beings, and just world is too small. We travel around the world within 24 hours, so it's no longer we are isolated. So it's called interconnectedness. Interconnected means we eat many food which comes from many parts of the world. One country is not able to produce what it needs because it's transportation easy, planning easy. So every country, whatever they're making, it goes many wider consumption of the humanity. So when it's interconnected like this, we can't able to be selfish. We need to see as one global, we call people, looking after the global interest of everybody's needs.